This is the MUD 60 monthly meeting. Welcome to all. Start out with a roll call. Make sure that we have a quorum. Director Betty Doherty.
Here.
Director Donna McAleer.
Here.
Director Bob Lux is here. Director Dale Walker is out of the country, and we have a vacant, but we won't have shortly. Anyhow, we have that through. Let us begin with a invocation and pledges of allegiance. Heavenly Father, we come to you today as an assembled body. We humbly request that you bless our meeting, our community, and our nation. Help us to work diligently, always for the common good and in the best interest of those who we have been elected to represent. Guide us to be insightful and prudent in our intentions, visions, plans, deliberations, decisions, and their fulfillment. Work through us to provide a spirit of welcome to all in attendance, to engage in respectful and thoughtful dialogue and discussion with understanding, wisdom, and humility. Amen. If you wish, prior to reciting the pledges of allegiance, please take an additional moment of silent prayer or additional reflection in the manner of your preference. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance to the United States flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge allegiance to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Okay. We have any comments from the public today, Shelley? Thank you. Agenda item number 4, consider an act on requests for adjustments to or relief from the specific charges imposed by the district. Mr. Mooney? We're rolling. We are rolling here. Okay, we now have the consent agenda, pages 2 through at least 16. Yeah, through 16 it appears. You have any
It doesn't say right there, does it?
no.
Well, there it is.
Yeah. I have no questions. Donna, do
I don't
you?
have any questions.
Betty, do you?
Mhm.
I'd accept a motion to approve.
I move.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Director McAleer made the motion. Director Doherty seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Okay. Agenda item number 9, receive the regular monthly SJRA Woodlands Division report. Is that Mr. Meeks?
Would be me.
Good afternoon, sir.
What's okay?
Well, Mr. Hildebrand is here. He's certainly capable.
And
And Miss Curtis is here. Don't start thinking you're taking all the sunshine.
Sorry, report is on page 17. In fact, it runs for about 20 pages. Nothing really, well, there's no violations. There's only one thing that's kind of a little bit out of the ordinary. On page 19 at the top, wastewater plant 2. Basically, there's a project going on at plant 2 where we're coating the headworks, and so peak flow is going to be off because it's not going through the headworks, it's being bypassed around. No violations there, just a little bit out of the ordinary. If you have any questions on the report, I'd be glad to go through it with you.
Was there any splashback from that excessive amount of poor choice of words, I guess, splashback? When you had that flow through treatment plant number 1, where you exceeded purely because of inflow?
So wastewater plant 1 during the big rainstorm that happened a couple Thursdays ago, we got 8 inches of rain in 9 hours. And then the instantaneous flow through the plant was up to about 32 million gallons. for a little bit of time.
Mhm.
So as Bob said, that's inflow where it's basically manhole cover stuff close on the ground. The 2-hour peak flow, which you'll see in next month's report, was about basically 25.2, 26 million gallons a day. So that is a violation that you'll see in next month's report. Instantaneous is not a violation, but it is a lot of planning that has to go in on how you're gonna handle that much flow coming into the plant. So
There's no fine associated with that?
at this point, there is none.
Okay.
That's all I have unless you have any questions.
I have none. Donna? Eddie? Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 10, receive information from SJRA and Friesen Nichols regarding partial rehabilitation net present value. And that would be Mr. Hildebrand, Ms. Curtis.
Chris, you're gonna take it first.
I'll take it.
Oh, Mr. Meeks, okay,
All
easily confused.
right, so we're gonna begin on page 37, 38 and 39. So if you recall, a couple months ago, there was a project plan presentation. We had a slide that said if the new wastewater plant is delayed, there are some, what I'm calling Band-Aids that need to be done to aid in that delay. That slide had a left column and a right column with a list of projects. If you look on pages 38 and 39, you're gonna see the same projects with 2 columns of costs. We were asked to put cost to those. So what you see is the left column with the darker blue. That is the, if it's delayed, basically 18 months. The other column is if it's delayed past 18 months, the associated cost. So if it's delayed 18 months, we're looking at basically $8.6 million in work that needs to be done. If it's delayed past 18 months, you're looking at the $33 million
Mhm, mhm,
as well.
mhm.
Where's what I handed you?
So it goes up from 8.6 million to 33.3 million.
Correct.
Is that the same thing that we saw in the trustee meeting, only it was a different, different line, the little line that went up and showed it was gonna be more if we waited. Is that the
That's on
same
page
thing?
40.
Okay.
So on page 40, like Betty is talking about, that is the actual graph.
Thank you.
So when you're looking at the graph on page 40, you have 2 red dots. And to be economically feasible, those red dots have to be below or to the right side of that green line.
Mhm.
If they're on the left side, it's not economically feasible to delay the plant and spend those funds just for a Band-Aid.
Mhm.
That is the high-level summary of their report.
Which was requested
Yes.
by the Board of Trustees
Mhm.
and funds were approved to pay for such.
Was there any comments about that at the Board of Trustees? I sort of don't remember.
I was in the hallway.
Okay. No, did anybody say anything about that's good, bad, or indifferent?
Generally, I think the summary was that if this was the information that they were looking for and that they understood that,
Talking about the trustee.
yes, ma'am,
Okay.
that, I think there were some questions from trustee Smith
Uh-huh.
just regarding some of the projects and that were on the list and the
Uh-huh.
timing for them. But in general, the results that were presented, there were no questions specific to the net present value graph that is shown.
Okay, I wasn't at the trustee meeting, so I might ask questions that were already covered. Because I think the question we asked in our board meeting a month ago, do we have costs, or would be to just continue to rehab what we have or build a brand new plant? And then I think,
That's what this is.
is that what
So,
this is?
No, this is the assumption of what we were, scope of work that we were given by the trustees, this is May, that would have been, April. Was to take the list from that presentation that Dan and Aaron Schindelwolf and I gave with the 10-year project plan of those 2 columns and put prices to them. And the assumption is that you're gonna move forward with the new plant.
I see.
Right, so if you move forward with a new plant and that construction is completed by 2030, that was that original schedule, if you remember that. If we were delayed because we were waiting to figure out how y'all were gonna pay until the November of 2025 elections, if we were delayed 18 months, what projects would we need to do? That was the left column. If we were delayed further than that, which would push the construction even further out, that's the right column that adds up to 33 million. So we
Yeah.
didn't have those numbers previously. That's what we were tasked to do.
This is an enormous jump, like
It's a huge jump.
5 times
Right, so-
almost.
At this point,
With
the
four
left
times.
is things for us to try to keep the plant running.
That would be the
If
dark.
we delay more than 18 months, we have to do some significant capital projects in order to keep the plant running.
Okay,
And so that's the 33 million. And obviously you see it on that chart, it jumps and it becomes significantly further away from the green line, which is what would make sense to spend
See, this is the
to
dark.
keep
This is
the
what.
plant running and delay.
okay, so is that what Ed was, or someone was saying, I guess a month ago, what's the difference between building a new plant or just keep maintaining the old one? And they said for a few million more, you could have a new plant. Is that what I remember hearing?
So that was going to be phase 1. So you're gonna go back to a year and a half ago or so, Dan? Yeah, so 2 years ago, almost at this point, where we were comparing the rehab and the replacement of different parts within the plant.
Yeah.
Versus
Just-
a whole bunch of alternatives. There were,
Yeah, the
And-
9 versions, I remember.
yes,
And
ma'am,
we went,
stakeholder meetings and all of that sort of
we
stuff.
went to version number 9,
Yes, ma'am.
buy the land and build a new plant, shut this one down, phase it over here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So that decision was made at that point. So we've been carrying that forward, and the question now is, we're gonna go build that plant, right? That is the general assumption of what that looks like, and how that works is still something of how to be paid for is things we're discussing. But building that plant, if we were to delay and wait for the MUDs to figure out how to pay for it, what we're asking for right now, if you remember, is the supplemental agreement for $40 million, right? And I believe that you all approved that last month in this.
right. And I was a little bit confused last month because I thought we were approving the study to get these costs.
No, that was approved by the trustees.
Okay,
So what was approved last month, and feel free to correct me, Eric, but was the supplemental agreement for us to move forward with preliminary design of the plant. And then it also includes some CAP-I in there, and then the initiation and origination fees for the bonds. And so that's the $40 million. So the design, the preliminary design, the things that we need, I think is 32 million of that 40. And so that's what the supplemental agreement was for, that y'all voted for last month. This is to explain if we were to delay and not move forward with that preliminary design, what it would cost. And essentially you would have some significant sunk costs. So if you wait 18 months, even that 18-month window, if we wait until November, you still have $8.8 million that you essentially, if you were to take the 288 million, 289 million, so just call it 290, you would actually spend more like 298, 299 for the same plant, because you're gonna have to go do that $8.8 million or $8.6 million worth of work. Does that make sense? So you're sinking it, and then you're gonna very quickly turn around and not use it anymore. And we would not recommend that we do that. So as long as we keep moving forward preliminary design, we stay on schedule, and we don't need to do that $8.6 million worth of work. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
And what did it cost? What was the study? What is the study that we did to figure out what that one that the group with the red dots and the green line, that was a whole separate study that you were asked to do to determine what it would cost us if we just stayed with what we were doing. Wasn't that a whole extra thing that we had to do to figure that out?
It was, and the trustees authorized us.
I don't remember how much that
Are you
was.
talking about some of the original studies or what?
What David
This specific,
recently just did.
It was up to $50,000.
Okay, all right, 50,000 to do that study. Okay, thank you.
further discussion.
no.
Thank you. Okay, are we to agenda item 11? Receive and discuss draft 2025 SJRA Woodlands Division budget.
He's gonna come up here and give y'all some great, wonderful, exciting news, and she's very thrilled to talk about it.
In y'all's packet, the presentation I'm going over is in there, as well as the actual draft budget. For y'all to look at. So just a reminder, today we're presenting the budget. We'll be back in June for questions, and in July, we'll ask for y'all to vote to direct your trustee. And then in August, we'll ask your trustee to vote on approving our budget for FY 25. So as Chris said.
Excuse me, let me just make sure I heard what you said. You said the trustees will approve this. Each individual MUD, that's when they get their voice in this budget. Each individual, you don't come to each individual one of us to get a vote, do you?
No, we get a vote from y'all to direct your trustee.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that was right.
Yes. So y'all's vote will be in July and the trustees will be in August, and then our board votes on the trustees. So on the first slide here, just to cut to the chase on it, we are proposing a decrease in the water rate by 5 cents, which is 2%. So the water rate for FY 25 will be $2.73. And then on the wastewater rate, we are proposing that we keep it constant, the same as FY 24, so it'll be $5.65 wastewater. On the next slide, we added some information in here to talk about the GRP rate. So the GRP rate to what Woodlands pays for our water, and then the blended rate that we pass down to y'all is decreasing. The GRP review committee has not seen this information yet, so y'all and the trustees are seeing it a little ahead of schedule. So it is subject to change, but the GRP rate is dropping, therefore our blended rate to y'all is dropping. So we're looking at the blended rate being $2.97
Yeah.
for FY 25.
Well, let me ask this question. It seems like every time that y'all present to us, we decrease just a little bit, and we work really hard to keep it at a certain level and to have it decrease. So when was the last time it went up? You don't have to tell me that off the top of your head, but it seems like it's been a long time. Uh-huh.
So the wholesale rate from us to y'all for what y'all pay us, I believe we increased it last year.
Yeah, page 53 is further in your presentation.
And what that about all the chemicals and everything going up, like
Correct.
chlorine going up 600% and that sort of thing?
Yeah, the big one was in FY 22. Last year wasn't as bad. And then, of course, we are where we are today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm not following the math here because I see 2.73 here and 5.65 here, and I'm trying to look at these woodland surface water conversion rates. I'm just having trouble.
No, that's understandable. So there's 3 rates in the Woodlands. If y'all look at this one in your packet, up at the top, you'll see the 3 different rates that we charge. The GRP rate is not one we come for a vote because that is what we get charged. We get charged that and we pass it on. But the other 2 are our wholesale rates. So the first slide is the wholesale rates that we're asking for a vote on. The second slide is an explanation of the blended fee and GRP, that's the pass-through fee. So the one that you're looking at doesn't have information from the first slide because it's 2 different rates.
Okay. So bottom line is it's going from 320 to 297 for wholesale.
For the GRP blended rate.
Okay.
And it is a wholesale rate to y'all, but yes. That's the fee that we charge all for the water that you use. The Woodlands Division pays the GRP division directly for what water that was used at a certain price and a certain type of water quantity. It's careful nightmare to try and get that out to people's bills for all of the Woodlands every single month. So that's where this blended fee comes in.
Think of it this way, the proposed water and wastewater rates on this page are to pay for them to operate and maintain and provide service from the water plants and the wastewater treatment plants. The number on this page is the water cost from producing the water, both from groundwater and surface water through the GRP.
Okay.
So one is your facilities, the water plants and sewer plants. The other one is the GRP, which is the surface water and groundwater source. Is that?
Okay.
I know it's rough.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to explain the difference between what those rates mean.
Mhm.
Does that make more sense?
On the next slide, we have just some highlights of things that we're going to talk about in the presentation. starting with our sales, so we did decrease our water loss from 5.5% to 4% for FY 25. So you will see an increase in sales for our demands there. Wastewater, also note on our production for water, we did not change that. We're still gonna produce the same. It was only sales that changed. And then wastewater, there's no changes in demand assumptions there for FY 25. Some of the other budget highlights that we have some slides on just to highlight is some changes in our chemicals, electricity, payroll, and our public communications. We still are proposing the $6 million transfer to R&R for FY 25 so that we can continue our projects that are on the project plan that we presented in March. And our water source, we're still proposing that we do that at a 50% blend between groundwater and surface water. On the next slide, we have a few items that were requested by WWA and the MUDs for us to include in our budget to do in FY 25. So the first one is the public communications consultant. So y'all are working on a public education campaign to get that out to the residents of the Woodlands. So we have $150,000 in our budget for Esri to assist in that campaign. So the next thing is the infrastructure lobbyist. This is one thing in the budget that we budgeted a partial year last year. So we're doing a full year this year, but the actual monthly amount is slightly less in FY 25. So you'll see the lobbyist added in our budget this year.
And that's about us getting our share of the infrastructure bill that was passed in Congress that Dan Crenshaw voted for.
Correct.
Isn't that right?
It's not the state government, it's the
No.
federal.
Well, all.
It's a
It's all of
combination,
them.
yeah.
Okay.
Cornerstone
and
goes to
DC.
Austin, they go
Mhm.
local, they go to the counties, and they
Okay.
go to the federal.
Okay.
And what did we got, 3.5,
3.6.
3.6?
1.8 for the lift station.
Yeah. Not a bad return on investment.
I don't think so.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
On the next slide, it's just a summary of the draft that's also in y'all's packet. It's just a summary of each of the line items. And there, just for y'all's review, but as we keep going. We did add the budget variance for dollar and percent in here for y'all to.
Could y'all make a little bit smaller font on that? So that I could bring my magnifying glass if I were gonna be here. I mean, that's a little, I can't read it.
I need to talk to PC about getting this way like smaller.
I can't read it.
Except about a whole.
I think they could blow it up on the page more too. There's a lot of white space around here.
That has to do with the printing, but yes.
Yes.
I do agree. If y'all do want a bigger copy, we can get electronic copies for y'all. And then this, everything in the PowerPoint is in this PDF too, which is a little bit bigger. So on the next slide, we've got chemicals. So our chemicals budget is going down just a little bit, about 150,000. The price of chemicals per unit is going up slightly, but Chris's team has found a lot of efficiencies in the plant that have been able to reduce the
Okay.
quantity of chemicals that we.
So you can reduce the amount used.
The price of chlorine is still inching up just a little bit, but they've got some efficiencies they've gained this year, so we'll see the budget reduce for that.
Mhm.
Next, we have our staffing plans. So, and here you'll see that the direct FTE has decreased a little under one FTE, which is a full-time equivalent. And our indirect has increased about 1.5. You can see that graph here as well. Our dollar impact into our salaries, we did increase it 6% to account for merit and promotions. To see our salaries portion of our budget is going up about 400,000 in FY 25. On the next slide, we've got some detail about the FTE changes and what they're coming from, and just to give a little bit of background on that. I'm not going to read it to you, but that's on the slide if you have questions about the changes in FTEs. Next, we have utilities. Our electricity budget is dropping about 700,000. This is a large amount that we're dropping in our budget. We're seeing price decreases from the freeze, and they're getting their prices more aligned and getting their rates dropped. So we're seeing that relief, and so we're able to drop the budget and pass that. So our electric budget is dropping about 700,000. The next slide is the future facilities account. This is an item that doesn't impact our operating budget, which is what we ask y'all to vote on, but it is something that happens in our Woodlands budgets, so all of our funds. So we did want to bring the information to show y'all that we are planning on transferring everything out of our future facilities fund into our R&R fund in FY 25. So it'll be about 4.9 million plus any interest earnings that are in there that in the future that are not there today. So we are looking at transferring that. And that is based on our sixth and final and our supplemental that came out of sixth and final. So this is already in another contract. It's just here to let y'all know that it's closing out future facilities. And it is a project in mind also, so.
Would you mind saying that last sentence again?
There is a project in mind for it, when we close out future facilities to R&R. And it is, it's per the contract and there is a plan for that money to be used on. On the next slide, we've got some major drivers for our budget. We did this last year and, well, so we added it again this year. For the most part, we look at these things in our budget and we pull out the larger items to do slides and have talking points on those. But sometimes we have some not so fun stuff in the budget, like painting, fun slides. So we've included those things here. So anything in the budget that's got a $50,000 variance plus or minus or 50% or sorry, and 50% change. We've included it on this slide with a little bit of explanation on that budget line. And you'll find everything on this slide is also in our draft budget packet.
Health insurance
Yeah.
where?
Oh, wow.
Went up everywhere.
Oh,
That's one of the major drivers.
vacancies there. Oh, gosh.
Mhm.
You know, 40%, 40%.
That's the way it rolls. That's the
Mhm.
way it goes. When I was running things in Mississippi, it would always be a 40% increase. Year after year.
We're having a 3% inflation rate. Let me put it that way.
Are y'all looking at the 40% on the group insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the driver.
yeah.
Yes, that was one thing that we had looked at as well when we were building out our budget, and noticed the amount that it went up there. So we do have some explanation on that. Our senior management gave us direction to increase our health insurance by 10% because of future costs for the plan. We also had a few employees that did not have healthcare this year, but during the year elected to have healthcare. And then I think some of them, there's at least two of them. I think one went from no healthcare to single and one went no healthcare to family. So that increased our budget there. And when we have vacancies, we budget vacancies at full family because we don't know who we're gonna hire. If they're gonna decline coverage or want full coverage. So that is part of that is why our insurance is a little higher this year, is the changes in our staff selections and a little increase in the plan and the vacancies that we have for next year's budget. With that, our last slide here answers your question, Betty, about our rate changes, and I had that slide in there, so that presented it out. But this is just to bring us back home on what we're asking and the rate that we're asking y'all to vote on. So we are asking for a decrease in our water wholesale rate to $2.73, which is 5 cents, 2%. And we're asking to keep our wastewater rate the same at $5.65. I'll put the July meeting for that.
Okay.
Is there
Presentation.
any impact on the lawsuit that, what's the name of that community up there? In
Magnolia, Montgomery,
there was another
Quad
Quad
Vest,
Quad Vest.
Private utility company.
that's a
Right.
utility
Does that
company.
impact any of this?
Not
Okay.
Aren't those all settled now? Aren't they all gone?
No, they're not. They're still in litigation.
Keep in mind that GRP, part of the Quad Vest and Woodland Oaks, settlement that they did where they back paid us, that bond defeasance for $14 million. That's part of the reason the GRP fee dropped at least 3 cents.
Okay.
Because they
That's
paid
what I
us-
was asking. Was there impact? Because I thought it was 12 million. You're saying it's 14, but
So it
wait.
was a $14 million bond defeasance, $12 million refund.
Oh, okay. I see.
Best of both.
Okay. So that kind of indirectly impacted us then.
It actually did directly impact you with the second page of the rates, where it's going from 320 to 297. 3 cents of that drop is because of that bond defeasance.
Okay.
And that refund you can find in your financials on page 6, under other revenue, at 139, under 339. So that's shown as a credit in your financials here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Haley. Agenda item 12, receive update regarding the Bear Branch, Panther Branch and Research Forest Drive Drainage Improvement Project. Mr. Hildebrand?
So not a whole lot to update this month. We're hoping to bring you something again in the near future. I think over the past 2 months now, we have been working with a consultant, LJA, on developing a cost estimate. So we got through the modeling. We were seeing some favorable results in the modeling, and the benefits and reduction of the water along Bear and Panther Branch. So we asked the consultant to move forward with some of the cost estimating. We have received their preliminary cost estimates, which are exceeding the project budget. I think we updated that last month. So we actually have a time later this week to sit down with Eric, STRA and LDA to further discuss that, talk about some of the assumptions, talk about how to move forward. So we want to be able to be aligned on that side before we come back and present that to all the funding. So hopefully more next month on that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Agenda item 13, the attorney's report. Katie, please.
Y'all again, I don't have anything specifically under attorney's report.
Okay. Agenda item 14, supplemental agenda in English and Spanish to canvass the returns of the director's election held on May 4th and to adopt orders and order declaring the results of director's election. I believe that was something you were going to cover.
We can go ahead and canvass the official results from Montgomery County. We received them this morning. For the minutes, I'll just note that it's 12:31. And I'll read you all the official results. So Paul R. Shu received 228 votes. Eric Anderson received 173 votes. Bill Freeble received 196 votes. And Keith M. Wagner received 194 votes. There are 791 votes in total. These numbers actually didn't change from the preliminary. So y'all didn't have any provisions that got approved. Anything like that. And so those are the official certified results from Montgomery County. What the board would do is adopt the order declaring the results of the director's election.
I'll move that we accept the results as submitted by Montgomery County Elections.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
We're just on top of it. Well, that's all we can do.
On it. Okay. Opposed, abstain, motion passes. Congratulations.
Donna and I don't drag our feet.
Okay. Agenda item 15, accept the qualification statements, bonds, oaths of office, affidavits of current director and elections not to disclose certain information for newly elected directors. Katie, please.
For Mr. Freeble and Mr. Shu, they're gonna sign them shortly. I will ask that they actually stand to take the oath of office. And these are the same documents that y'all signed when you came on the board, and I'm happy to run through them with you if you want afterwards. Would y'all mind standing to take the oath? I'll read out a couple words, you can repeat, and then we'll go through it that way.
Why don't y'all move to the center so I can see you real quick?
So we can take.
You be on camera.
I think you can raise your right hand.
I'll let him out
Let's
first.
help think that looks more official.
How about
It
next
does.
to the flag?
Yeah, we're gonna take a picture. of it. For the,
Betty, do you have a sport field that's fit me?
nah.
I would love
That's your, do you need,
I know, my maternity one night.
do you need me to move or anything? Okay, thank you.
Raise your, do your
Okay, so right hand up, this is your official oath of office. Your name,
I, Bill Friedel,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
Faithfully
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office of director
of the office of director
of Montgomery County Municipal Utility District number 60
of Montgomery County Municipal Utility District number 60 of
of the state of Texas,
the state of Texas.
and will do to the best of my ability
Do the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. So y'all will sign these oaths, along with your other documents.
And I didn't get these straight.
Just to quickly run through them, there's the official bond.
I can't say another word.
It's a $10,000 bond that all directors are required to make. There's a statement of elected officer in which they are signing, promising that they did not accept any money or contribute any money to gain votes in the election. There's the oath, which we just went over. And then there's the affidavit of director, which is a list of things basically stating that they're qualified to serve as director. So those are the items for, and then the election not to disclose certain information. They don't have to sign that if they don't want to, but if they do want to sign it, I think y'all all did, most of the directors decide to, then we will keep your home address, home telephone number, social security number, information that reveals whether you have family members, and emergency contact information confidential. So this won't have to be revealed.
Does that signature on that document, after you're no longer a director, there's certain, whatever you signed that said you
Yes,
wouldn't
it
talk about?
continues even after.
I need to know what that is.
Yeah, how
You know,
long is that?
Like the chat.
Oh, you have, y'all all, I think, signed an election
Yeah.
not to disclose.
Probably
ask
have
her
to
if
look
that
at
would
the
be
list
appropriate.
before I leave here is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Katie, being as we have the space today, would it be appropriate for the two new directors to take
have
a
a
seat
seat?
at the,
Yes,
Very good.
definitely.
just wanted to clear it with you, make sure that we're according to.
And they can
Rules
answer
of the road
questions.
here.
now.
Bob, we can go through each of 15 through 19 and take a motion on each of them, or I can kind of run through them and then you can take one
You
motion,
can see her.
however you want to do.
I think you can stay right there. You're doing fine.
All right.
We're not kicking you out.
No, we're not kicking you out.
You can't yet.
That's a fight I'm not gonna get into. I think we'd just do it on the consent,
One motion
Matt,
for
one
all.
motion. What do you think? So-
Yes, I think so.
I don't think so.
It's our rules, right?
We were presented an option by our attorney.
Item 16 is the district registration form. This is something that we will submit to the TCEQ, and it just states the new terms of office of the new directors. Then for item 17, this is kind of another list of directors that we prepare and maintain on y'all's behalf. It's the local government officers list. So we'll do that as well. And then item 18 is the training requirements for the new directors only for the Texas Open Meetings Act and Texas Public Information Act. We have a memo in here for y'all about those requirements, but you have 90 days to complete that training. And then item 19 is the conflicts disclosure statement. We have a memorandum for you on that as well. And you'll fill that out and basically let us know if you have any conflicts of interest, what the district would deem as a conflict of interest that would possibly prevent you from voting in certain matters and things like that. So we ask you to fill that out. But those are all the documents, 15 through 19.
Okay,
And we do need a motion to it.
if we could have a motion to motion to approve items 16 through 19 of the agenda
I make
So-
the motion.
Director McAleer makes the motion. Director Lux makes,
Well, actually, we need current, one of the.
Yeah.
One of
Ah,
the.
second.
you sec, and
Mhm.
Director Doherty seconds. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion passes. Very good.
Since we're seeing.
16 through 20. All right. Yes, yes, yes. A. All right. They have now officially
Been seated.
been seated. Okay.
Does that mean they can vote?
Yes,
But they can vote.
yes, they can
Okay,
vote. I
okay.
not sure we have anything that requires a vote
Okay.
coming up, but they can. Yeah. And thank you for your service.
We don't have a general manager. Oh, there it is. Agenda
Number
item
20.
number 20. Receive the general manager's report. Mr.
Yes.
Peterson, please.
I have a couple items today. First, I wanted to update everyone on the storms a couple weeks ago. The Woodlands as a whole fared very, very well in terms of some minor street flooding on a few areas. We have a few hot spots that we're aware of throughout the bigger storms, and so we went around to look at those shortly after the storm, and things fared very well. So I haven't heard any reports of anything significant that occurred as far as house flooding or anything.
So there was no house flooding at all in the Woodlands?
I believe there was a report that there might have been something at the top end of Harper's Landing that abuts to River Plantation. I don't have that confirmed, but that was a report I've heard. So we'll more to come on that. So,
No, because I'm seeing reports on Nextdoor, and I know
Yes.
that's just anecdotal, saying they were upset by the San Jacinto River Authority opening up the floodgates of Lake Conroe too premature. I don't know.
yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with you all,
Okay,
with the Woodlands, other than right there in that corner. Because the West Fork does come through
39, by
yeah, that
39.
very top end corner of 39. So when the release rate's a little high on those bigger events like this one,
Mhm.
I know when I lived there, it definitely affected us during Harvey. But what I'm hearing is that there was potentially some minor stuff on the north end of 39.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No. But as far as throughout the Woodlands, the rest of the Woodlands, I've not heard of any.
Okay,
You may have seen an email last Monday identifying a problem with one of the water plants that was struck by lightning.
Yes.
We thought that was important to get that out pretty quickly. Long story short is that kind of white box up at the top in 47 in the orange, that square that's white, you see that? Right around there is where water plant 3 is. Water plant 3 was hit by lightning, and it essentially disabled the chlorination equipment in the on position or open position. So effectively it was releasing chlorine disinfection, which is your normal disinfection, but into the system. So as you can imagine, just kind of creating a radius coming out of that centralized location, chlorine, greater amounts of chlorine came into the system and got right into the top end of 60. That's about as far south and east that it went. And then it took us about, I'd say probably 36 hours with coordinated effort between SGRA and WWA to help operate fire hydrants to release and flush the system, flush the tanks, et cetera, to get that water out as quickly as we could. So I was isolated and taken care of within about 24 to 36 hours. Wanted to report that we will be doing a new director orientation on June 5th and 10th. We'll probably do a kind of a mid-morning into lunch, provide lunch. On either one of those days will be an option for new directors. And then my understanding is SGRA is also going to have kind of a new director orientation to focus on infrastructure and a lot of the things that SGRA does. So more to come on that for the new directors. Already talked about the GRP fund refund. I did want to bring up, and this, maybe this is a good time to do it. On behalf of the board of directors for Mud 60, I'd like to read aloud a award and plaque that Mud 60 is offering. Our sincere thank you and appreciation for exceptional leadership and dedicated service to Montgomery County Municipal Utility District number 60 to Betty Doherty.
Thank you.
November 2020 to May 2024. So I thought on behalf of.
Picture of this. Hold on, let me get ready.
He's.
This shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. One, two, three. Good job. Well done, Betty.
Couple more things. Last month, we talked about the drought contingency plan and water conservation plan. Those both were submitted by the deadline of May 1, and we've already received response back from TCQ that has been accepted or approved, received and accepted. So that's done. And then wanted to give you an update on lead copper rule revision. Basically, that's an EPA mandate where all municipalities across the country must identify what type of water lines they have in their system, both on the public side and the private side of the meter. And we have to create that inventory by October of this year. And so for the last 6 months, we've been working with a consultant to help start to build that inventory. We've identified that, well, we know that after about 88, 89 is when lead pipe was not allowed to be used altogether. And so the EPA has allowed you to kind of draw a line in the sand and say, okay, everything that went in after that is not lead. And then you kind of have to confirm what you have older than 88, 89. So
There's lead actually that was done before 88. I thought it was copper. So my house could have lead pipes because that was built in 87.
87,
87.
likely not. This area was starting to go out, but it was still could be.
That also apply to appurtenances that might have either leaded joints or something like
You know,
that.
whenever I've had a pipe burst a couple of times, when we looked, the drywall's cut out, it looked like they were copper, but
Okay.
how would I know? You know, it looked copper to me, but
It's either copper, if it's gray or copper color, it's.
it was copper color that I saw.
Yep. That was common too at that time.
Okay, but it was built in 87, so I'm right on the cusp of that change.
Right. So luckily, we have several employees that have been here for over 45 years that put that pipe in the ground. And they're able to sign an affidavit to the effect that they saw it go in the ground and that there wasn't.
That it was copper going in the ground, not lead, and
Yeah, lead is the type of pipe that we're most focused on, the EPA is most focused on,
right.
for sure. So we believe that we can cover most of it. We've identified that there's about 9,000 connections that are unknown or that would qualify pre those dates. So
So,
we would need to verify.
so you would go in and sample those pipes?
No, we're allowed to use that affidavit. And then if we cannot verify through that form, then we would have to dig up on both sides of the meter to identify what type of pipe is coming into the meter from the public side and going out of the meter to the home on the private side. So just dig a hole on either side of the meter box to identify what type of pipe that is. That's how you would identify.
And so there's about 9,000 areas that you have to do that?
No, what I'm saying is we don't have to do that in most cases because we have employees that saw it go in the ground.
Okay,
And so they can attest that they saw it go in the ground, that we didn't use. Because everyone I've talked to has mentioned, they didn't see lead going into the ground in the woodlands. So that's good news. And it's going to hopefully be a lot simpler and a lot quicker to verify and complete that water line inventory by October. For any that we cannot verify that way, yes, we are going to have to dig. We're hoping that we can minimize that. That's what my point is.
okay.
And let's see, the last thing I had was to kick it over to Tori to talk about the communications.
One quick question.
Yes.
On 63, you've got that drainage structure failure. Being as Mud 60 is responsible for 10% of that cost, could you please identify where that location is, and just if you can, other than what's written here, if there's anything more to be said about that?
We brought it up last year and then last month also. It's right there off the tip of Mud 7.
On there.
The green, the turquoise color.
Mhm.
So your 10% is that little yellow
I see that.
area. That's the 1090% percentage wise.
Mhm.
So there's a ditch that essentially is near that tip that ties into the major ditch. And there was a drop structure, it's a concrete drop structure that's going down that feeder ditch that failed last year or the beginning of last year or the year before. It was identified last year. We brought it to your attention. We put it in the budget for last year, I think at an estimated $750,000, of which the engineer is in the middle of the design right now. So that's where we're at.
Is it important to know what the like forensics of the failure is? How do we prevent this occurrence? Is there any way to?
Because that's a new neighborhood. That's relatively, that little yellow square there, it's a gated
The
community.
ditch
Okay.
is very old.
Oh, I see.
And so that concrete structure was
Just
basically undermined from all the different drainage events over the years. And it undermined and it kind of fell in. We're having a fair amount of those across the Woodlands right now. We have, and the good or bad news about having some of these heavier rainfall events is they bring to light some of the problems a little faster. So we have a couple sinkholes along ditches where a backslope swale or interceptor pipe has failed in that area, and once it starts bringing in sand into the broken pipe, then eventually there's a sinkhole that occurs. And so we've got a few of those. This is a little different, but I'm just telling you that there's probably more to come.
Are there any design improvements that are occurring to perhaps prevent this occurrence?
Perhaps there's, in this particular case, they're looking at a little bit different design that I've had some familiarity with in the past that I've used and that I have confidence in. So I haven't seen the designs yet, but I just hear that that's which direction they're
Good.
going.
That's good.
So we'll be reviewing that once it comes available and give our 2 cents.
Thank you for that update. Tori? Good afternoon, Tori. Nice to see you.
For those that don't know, my name is Tori. I originally got hired here as an accounting assistant to Marine. With my background in journalism, I meandered through working with John and the communications department and the outreach. So today I'm just going to do the communications report that's on page 7 of your packet. And right now we're in quarter 2 focusing on water quality. There will be more in-depth content in the new director orientation meeting on June. But right now it's just a brief summary of what's going on. So we did push out a lot of information compared to historically in the past with the elections. We've had bill suffers, emails, especially on all of our social media platform and on both 2 places on our website. We've also made some new website updates. We have a rainfall data map. So it's a summary of rainfall and you can zero into your location and it tells you how much rainfall you've received anywhere from 15 minutes ago to a year ago. So that's really cool. It's another way that we can push some of our customers to go to our website, which is something we've really been trying to encourage our customers. If you flip to the next page, this is just some examples of our current marketing. We have the water bill, Woodlands Water Weekly, which is a weekly email that goes out every Monday morning, or I think around 9. We like to give out lawn watering guides, tips, just irrigation schedule, ways that customers can know how and when to water and save money on their water bill. So we really encourage all of our customers to sign up for that. It's also a pop-up that we recently added on our website to get the customer's attention. Then we have our social media sites, which is Nextdoor, Facebook, and Twitter. Nextdoor is fairly recent. We just started that, I believe, around November. So it's still up and coming, but we're trying to catch the narratives and We haven't responded to people. We just post information that we think is important so far.
I've reposted myself.
Yeah, if you see any of our stuff, please repost. Also, if you see any negative comments, please send it to John or I. That way we can stay up to date with what's going on, since we're not commenting to people on Nextdoor. Next, you'll see the latest update on Holloway on the next page. So the PDC did meet with Holloway last week to enter into phase 3 of the implementation. Couple of highlights from there. They want to start developing a standalone website for infrastructure, also developing the formation of citizen advisory groups, and developing customer surveys. And lastly, we have a Water Smart portal. So this is one of our largest and most important tools to help the customers not only save money, but know how to manage their water. They can get leak alerts, they can see how much water they're using and when they're using it. And in the last 2 months, the total accounts registered has gone up from 29% to 45%. So we are seeing a really good increase of that. I pull in a lot of the payments from Water Smart myself, and that used to be our smallest one. Now it's one of our largest. So if you guys can keep pushing our customers to Water Smart, it's a great portal for us. And one of the driving costs is that we are moving away from the other 2 options of auto pay and just solely using Water Smart as auto pay. And it's also a place where our customers don't get charged a fee. So we're really, really trying to push customers there, push them out there. And yeah, that's all that.
Very good, Tori.
Couple other fun facts on Water Smart too. I think last year at this time, we were at about 17 to 19%. Now we're at 45, and we utilized that system to push out that chlorine notice. So that came to you via an email, but it came through our Water Smart and email database. And we've confirmed now that there was an 83% open rate on that email, which is unheard of.
That's good.
So we're reaching people, we're getting out messages to them, and they're opening it, which is good. So the more the merrier. We can get that into the 70-80% in the next couple of years. That would be fantastic.
Very good. Thank you. Now to agenda item number 21. Receive the Woodlands Water Trustees Report. General Manager Peterson, please.
Go ahead.
There was a extensive discussion about the presentation that you saw earlier. There was a little bit more in-depth, the long version, if you will, of pages, the ones that
67.
38, 39, and 40. Freeze Nichols basically went into quite a bit of detail of that. That was, I think, the majority of the meeting's time frame. And then we talked a little bit about the budget, and then I think that was the majority of the items. Took a while to get through that first part. Packed house.
Are you gonna mention the people that showed up and the comments that were made? Because I think they are really germane to what we've done here. What we do here, the forever and a day, what we do here. And if you want to talk about it, or I'll talk about it.
I can say what occurred. You can talk about what they said, I guess.
Okay.
Essentially, I think it was three elects, director elects, stood up and spoke their opinions on what they're looking to do. And then an incumbent that wasn't running, Walt Leshevsky, also spoke about his opinion of how the election or how the campaigning went, I guess. You can go into more detail if you would like.
Well, I can give you names if you want to, but I don't think that's important. The most important thing was the first gentleman that stood up said that we were dishonest, that we were overspending, that we were responsible for the ACH debacle. You know, there was a debacle about that. I didn't know.
What's HCH?
That's about the pipeline where we've gone back and we're studying to make sure that we're supposed to change out
The AC pipeline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me, there's another thing that's ACH. And so I think it's important that that's the attitude that people are going to have of what we've been doing. And I personally am offended when I'm told that I'm a thief. And it's just something I think we're gonna have to deal with. You know, when I ran, it was because I thought, well, what the heck's going on with the mud? That's weird. Nobody knows. I'm gonna find out. Well, I didn't find out that anybody was stealing from anybody. I see responsible people. There are engineers who make this plan. If there was anybody that didn't know what they were doing, it was probably me. But I had some guys around me that knew. And so I just think that we have to deal with that. The polite thing would be not for anybody to say anything, but it is the thing behind the curtain that I think we have to deal with. And I think it's really a disadvantage to this operation if we don't speak to it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you, Ben.
Mhm.
Anything else to add that wasn't included in the report? Thank you
No.
very much.
You're welcome.
And yeah, if you're interested beyond the report, you can also watch the video. It's up.
Very good. Okay. That was agenda item 21. Do we need to reconvene? No need for closed session? No need to reconvene. Okay, discuss matters for placement on future agenda. As we discussed as a board last month that we were delaying the election of new officers out of respect for Director Walker, who's out of the country. He's been a good board member. He deserves the opportunity to either cast his indication of office that he would like to have and vote for others.
Mhm.
So we are doing that next month instead of this month. And that,
The trustee.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I would think, trying to figure out so that we don't violate walking forums and so forth and so on, to have requests for consideration for office sent to Shelley. Would that be neutral enough?
I think that would be fine.
Okay, is that okay with you? Is that okay with you,
It
Director?
is. I mean, otherwise you just make.
Because you just make a nomination.
But if they wanted to talk about it, you know, or say, hey, I have interest in this office. That's what I'm saying more than that, as opposed to just at the time,
It's just-
you know,
It just depends who gets to
Probably
sign
fine.
a certain form, that's all,
yeah.
you know.
However you done.
Yeah, what do you think? Go to Shelley or just, we'll just figure it out on, next month,
Figure it out on the fly.
figure it out on the fly. You like that?
Mhm.
Fine, that's the way we're gonna do it,
I did
figure it out on the fly.
I did fail to mention earlier, I wanted to point out that both of y'all should be getting a little just an envelope or a folder with some information, some forms, some business cards, things like that. At the orientation, we're gonna have a binder, well, our business cards, so they know who to call. You'll be getting a binder with a lot more information, what it is to be a director, different resources and things that you can utilize as we're starting to get you up to speed. So more to come. This is just kind of contact information, some of the basics for now, but you'll get more.
Yeah, pretty good.
You'll also receive an email from SPH with some more information for you to read in advance of the training session.
And don't ever hesitate to call me if you've got any questions. I'm always available. If I don't answer immediately, I'll call you back as soon as I can, but open door.
Aside from the election of officers, anything that anybody would like to add to the agenda at this time? No, good, okay. There's no further discussion. This meeting's adjourned.